Hi guys, Iron Cameraman here. It just so happens that while I was writing this script, I got a reply from DafuqBoom, so make sure you watch the whole video without rewinding to see this exclusive. And besides that, we will touch on an interesting detail in 5 posters from him. I'm sure you already know what it's about, but for those who don't know, it will become clear to you later. And the most important thing that today will be in the list of our discussion is about the episode 77 of part 2. Namely, we will talk about this scene with a picture of a Special Forces Skibidi. After I publish the analysis, I have a lot of new interesting thoughts about the past of the series, in particular about the past of the base Alpha Hills. After all, this is a very mysterious place, and not just for nothing, there worked the secret agent himself, because of which there was a disaster not only in this laboratory, but on the entire planet Earth. His inhuman experiments, which I will try to tell you today, will shock you. After all, the origin of the agents is much darker than it seems at first glance. In fact, many agents were made from dead people that Dafuk killed with his own hands. And what is even more frightening and mesmerizing is that Skibidi SWAT knew all along about what the secret agent was doing and even likely took part in it. But now he can't tell anyone about it because of one detail that many missed in episode 77. Well, it's going to be a hot one tonight. I think it's already safe to start diving into the history of Alpha Hills. So, take tea and cookies, and don't forget to give us a like, as the channel has dropped a lot lately. I hope for your help. Anyway, here we go. As you remember in episode 77 of part 2, we saw how the hybrid policeman, apparently from his back pocket falls a certain frame with a picture of a military detachment at some secret base. If you look closely, you can see that in the middle of this squad stands a good old Skibidi cop, and around him are his close friends or co-workers. You can tell by the inscriptions that are scattered throughout the photo, that the photo was taken at Alpha Hills in 1986, and the unit pictured is the Special Defense Service for Government Installations, according to the caption at the bottom. We can deduce that this hybrid was part of a non-com unit that was supposed to protect important government facilities. Knowing this, we realize that he was very familiar with Alpha Hills and was an integral part of it, protecting it. He may have been a good high-ranking fighter throughout Alpha Hills. And the last important detail in this photo is the secret agent himself, who's looking directly into the camera, as if he's not happy about being filmed. But there's also a question mark above him. It could mean that the Skibidi Toilets have suspicions about Dafuk, or maybe they've already found something about him. And since the SWAT toilet had this picture, we can conclude that he has good detective skills, since he started asking questions. Which also tells us that he's one of the people who knows what happened at Alpha Hills, since he's a direct participant, which is why he's most likely looking for the culprit behind the laboratory disaster. But in order for us to understand what kind of disaster might have happened at the secret government base, we need to start at the beginning. As we know, a secret agent took over as director of Alpha Hills Laboratory in 1979. In 1985, a group of scientists discovered some kind of blue energy at the same lab. But in 1986, we see some kind of squad come to the Alpha Hills lab to protect important government facilities. Why did they only come in 1986, you ask me? Because it's not mentioned anywhere. If you pay attention to the photo, which fell out at the hybrid, we can notice cars, as if someone just arrived. Also, the SWAT team itself behaves plus or minus the same way. Because why would they take a photo if they had been working here for a long time, right? Most likely this is their first appearance on this base, and they decided to keep it as a memory, and that's why they took the photo. Well, the most important thing, we can notice how the secret agent is very unhappy that these operatives took the photo. Most likely Dafuk forbade to take photos on the base Alpha Hills, and they, as newcomers, did not know about it. But the main question remains, why did this squad come to the base? Let's remember again that in 1985, a group of scientists conducted an experiment, and already in 1986 comes a military detachment of the government. What happened in the end? Most likely this experience was very unfortunate for some scientists, because we have not seen what happened after the activation of this blue ray. We can assume that Dafuk was the reason why Astros found out about our planet, and after that they sent with G-Man his army here. Or this ray became a portal through which Astro and learned about the Earth. And after this incident, in which most likely died a lot of people's secret agent and requested an elimination team. But after all that happened, he did not stop studying that portal, although most likely scientists such as Dave and Kathy were against it. But Dafuk has an entire army on his side when they have nothing. But still, a lot of the scientists at Alpha Hills were against studying what they found. You remember in episode 77, part 2, we saw the camera woman become human for a few seconds? We didn't see any green interference or anything, which means it wasn't a secret agent, but probably some kind of cameraman's memories of the camera woman. Why memories? The thing is, Dafuk himself recently said it's the cameraman's spiritual way of communicating. Yes, it is, but last time we saw footage of Kathy, she didn't have a scar on her lip, which means it's the last human form our cameraman remembered, which most likely means he knew Kathy before, maybe worked with her at Alpha Hills, but we don't have a definitive ID yet. And why am I telling you this? Look, we see that Kathy has a small wound in her last form, which means that something terrible happened at Alpha Hills, a disaster that killed a lot of scientists, soldiers. There's speculation that it was some sort of small rebellion against the secret agent and his inhumane experiments. But unfortunately, most likely all of these scientists and operatives who participated in it died. Perhaps it was a squad of special forces was the one who killed the scientists. It's all very easy to confirm. Look, the SWAT team and Kathy were in the same Alpha Hills lab, but Kathy became a camera woman and the SWAT team became a Skibidi Toilet. And have you ever wondered why that happened? It's because Kathy was killed on that base for dereliction of duty, and then they experimented on her, turning her into a camera woman. And the SWAT guy, he stayed on to guard the Alpha Hills compound. And as you realize, not for long, that is, the secret agent continued to study the beam, after which there was a disaster that infected most of the Alpha Hills laboratory. This also confirms that the SWAT toilet is a hybrid. That is, he evolved into a mutant, which tells us that the Skibidi virus came from the Alpha Hills lab. After all, as we know, the Skibidi virus, inside a living being, is constantly mutating and improving its host to make it better. In fact, if you think about it that way, it turns out the Skibidi mutant was one of the first infected. But what happened to the secret agent after, as we saw in the photo? He already in 1986 had some supernatural abilities. I recognized it from the green radiation that emanated from him. It's subtle, but it's still there. Which means after that incident, Dafuk decided to create agents who could fight it. The first were the dead scientists on Alpha Hills. He made robots that mimicked the humans they were based on. The secret agent only gave them a part of their past lives so they wouldn't remember what really happened or who the secret agent was. He left such memories as we saw in episode 73, i.e., scraps of gestures with some close people. So the robots understand human behavior and mimic it, presumably doing what humans do. As you can imagine, the secret agent made sure that the Alliance remembered nothing from their past lives, only snippets of what Camera Woman had. But what about the Skibidi toilets they must remember? Well, there's probably a problem here too. As you remember, the first infected were very stupid and didn't have much intelligence, which probably means they lost most of their memory when they transformed. But over time, their brains got smarter and evolved too. And media like documents, photos, videos, recordings, etc. most likely helps them regain a small part of their memory, which is what we're seeing with the Skibidi SWAT team. Apparently, he doesn't remember Dafuk much and he seems very suspicious of him, which is why he marked him with a question mark, which tells us that the photo he has of him has triggered some of his past memories. You Know It All, again, reminded me of Half-Life Games episode if you are interested. I already had a video in which we studied this universe in detail and found a lot of similarities with the series. If you want, you can go after this video and watch it. Well, here is a certain G-Man like secret agent brought a strange object to study because of which there was a disaster at the base and monsters from another world began to penetrate into ours. So, G-Man was also involved in a very dangerous experiment, but in the case of Dafuk, he was in the lab a long time ago and did not appear out of nowhere. And as we know, he probably gained the trust of many of the employees and the government. And so he began to conduct his experiments, which led to what is now happening in the series. Now let me show you a screenshot of the answer from DafuqBoom that I told you about in the beginning. But before that, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss such exclusives and new theories on Skibidi Toilet. And if we can reach 500,000 subscribers, I will even publish a video about G-Man and TV Man Titan, and how their meeting will take place in the part 3 of episode 77. In general, as you might have guessed, I'm bringing back our old column, What Happens Next. And now for the deluxe. I noticed that, like me, a lot of viewers like these posters from Dafuk. My favorite is the one with Camerawoman, of course. It looks very beautiful and detailed, like a still from the movie. I even put this poster on my desktop. So that's what I'm saying. Since everyone liked these posters so much, I was wondering if we're going to get this kind of footage from Boom on a regular basis, or if it's going to be super rare. So I wrote him this message. Mr. Boom, you have made us very happy with beautiful posters. Should we expect the same posters for each new episode part, or will it be infrequent but of high quality? And he answered, each episode or part. I was very happy with this answer, so we expect more posters in the future. By the way, all the shots from him had the names of the depicted characters, and most of all, I was surprised by the new official name of Camerawoman. It turns out she's already called Plunger Woman. Basically, a cool decision. Write in the comments what you think about it. Well, that was Iron Cameraman. Bye-bye.